Hello, friends. Glad you could join us. Welcome to what is the 8th round of this 14th Division 1 season here in the Midwest F1 League. Tonight we are at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore for what should be a very interesting race, considering this is the third of the season. Third out of 6, which no racing line will be available for the race tonight or the qualifying session, which went before this. And speaking of qualifying results, it's a bit interesting. Let's go over your starting grid. On top will be Race Day. He'll start 9/10 of a second ahead of Reimer in that second spot. That 1:26.427 was untouched by anyone else in the session. And then, Reimer, that being 9/10 of a second behind, we do go to Cali Robb in third, 1.15 off the pace. Race Chase in fourth, 1.27. Those are the only four cars, three other cars, even within a remote opportunity of Race Day's pole time. Then we go to Fire Up Flow, 1.9 behind. Shariah, only about 2/100ths behind Fire Up Flow, who started 5th. Shariah will be 6th. 7th will be Nikki 64, 1.955. Gottney Weeb, 2.302. Houdini, 2.379. Noganator, 2.498. Gunner, 2.928. Swee, Edwin, Travis Scott will all start 12th, 13th, and 14th, 3 seconds outside of the pole time. And Schaefer in the V-carb at the back, unfortunately, did not put together a time for the session. I believe he either crashed or retired early. Whatever the situation must have been there. Let's take you through the drivers and constructor standings. Coming out of that 7th round at Hungary last time out, Race Day does sit atop the table at 376 points. It's a close one there for that second position. Nikki 64 at 314, Race Chase 312, Cali Robb at 307. You can even throw Swee into the mix there at 291. It'll be Lancey in 6th. It'll be Lancey at 6th, the Gottney Weeb 7th, Shariah 8th, Reimer 9th, and rounding out the top 10 points will be the McLaren of Gunner. As far as the constructors are concerned, as we get our formation lap underway, it'll be the Ferraris atop the table by 64 points over the Saubers. The McLarens in 3rd, the Red Bulls in 4th, Williams 5th, Mercedes 6th, the Astons in 7th, 8th will belong to Alpine, 9th will be V-Carb, and 10th will be Haas. Singapore here, the changes that have been brought to this track have made the racing so much better, and of course always the threat of safety car and rain. Well, as it turns out, I don't think rain is gonna... It doesn't initially look as if it's going to be that much in the picture. Rain doesn't appear it's going to be in the picture unless we get to the back end of the Grand Prix, because the majority of the grid have chosen the medium tires. Usually what that tells me is that it's not going to happen immediately enough for them to need to worry about it. But it could happen if it does. What I can tell you, what almost certainly will happen, is the threat of safety car tonight. As again, these drivers are racing without the aid of Racing Line. Of course, I think this is definitely an easier track to do without line than that of Zandvoort, and Austria is not that hard at all. Spa is probably not that hard at all either. I would say maybe this is the most difficult out of the 6 to do a race with no line. They had it for the British Grand Prix Round 2. They had it for the Spanish Grand Prix Round 4. 2 tracks which a lot of these drivers have turned laps on time and time again. This is the 3rd installment of it, as I've said, here in Singapore. I will say if it was on the old layout of the circuit, it would have been much more difficult. Zandvoort is a tricky one with how the elevation changes and then the basic layout and topography of the circuit. Singapore, you don't really have that issue. Austria, very straightforward. Spa, any sim racing driver has raced that track in probably 3 or 4 other games. Race Day, having the outside line into turn 1. It's a bit interesting here. Outside through 1. Through 2, you'll have the inside. It's back again to the tight left-hander at turn 3 on the outside again. Race Day will have to get a good start here. Reimer, to his inside, will start on the hard tires. Something that he will usually do. Reimer does enjoy having the off strategy here. Shariah and Nikki have both not been able to find the grid boxes correctly there, I'm afraid. Just waiting for Schaefer to join up at the back of the grid, and we'll be underway. So, for the 8th time this season, the lights are turning on here in Division 1. Race on the outside, Reimer on the inside, they are away. And I think Reimer has gotten the better start there, very marginal. If so, Race Day has cleared ahead of him either way, as Callie Robb does have a quick look to the outside of Reimer as they make their way through the first couple of corners. Shariah, Gotney Weeb side by side, as well as Houdini and Nikki. And look at that, the Haas of Noganator trying to have a poke to the inside there as he tries to find his way around Nikki and Houdini as well. Edwin and Gunner wheel to wheel behind them. Oh, lots of contact there between the Aston and the Red Bull as they go through turn 5. Shariah and Gotney Weeb side by side for the time being, wheel to wheel. Meanwhile, they are losing time to the top 5 as Fire Up Flow nearly has a second advantage on the Sauber and his teammate in question, as now they make their way through the treacherous second sector here. Most of the mistakes I think you're going to see on track made tonight will be through this second sector. Very difficult, very tricky, lots of track limits, lots of places to have the car slip away from you. Over the bridge they go, heading in towards turn 13. And he moves into the braking zone here. No, but I think Edwin has gone round. Yes, he has. Edwin finds himself perpendicular with the circuit and missing a bit of the front wing on the left side. Unfortunate there. The track does seem as if it's going to stay green. Noganator has taken Nikki around the outside. Noganator's gone deep into the corner. Only just gets that car. Only just gets it down to speed to be able to avoid the wall on the outside. As I was saying that, we did have a look at the tire strategy. We're going to assume it's pretty much midway through. Edwin seems to have gone around again, that time at 14, as Race Day will have the fastest lap of the session and will exit the first lap already nearly a second and a half ahead of Reimer. And by the way, we talk about Reimer as a very good driver. I think this speaks to the testament so far of Race Day's abilities. He is already, I'm not going to say miles ahead, but goodness me, it does seem miles ahead of the rest here. And we're only beginning the second lap. Edwin's gone up again. Schaefer's picked up, I think, 3 seconds for multiple warnings. We'll get that confirmed here. Yes, he has. Callie Robb around the outside, looking through turn number 7. Will he be able to have it? He stayed within track limits there nicely. Braking zone at turn 8. This one's a bit tricky, and they've done it cleanly. Callie Robb now up to second. Reimer has been has now lost that spot. After the first lap and a half or so, we'll have a look here at who has done what. Nikki is down 3 spots. He was overtaken Gotney Weeb, Houdini, and Noganator. Callie Robb has gained the spot over Reimer. Schaefer is up 2 after, I think, Travis Scott and Edwin having their own respective difficulties in the opening stages. Down the straight they go, heading up towards turn 14. Race Day now already nearly 3 seconds over the rest. Reimer with DRS was not able to get up to Callie Robb, I'm afraid. Race Chase is actually going to be putting quite the pressure on the back of the Red Bull here as they make their way down the back straight, heading in towards turn 16. In real life, there is a DRS zone in this section of the track. Not here, not in the game. Leave it to EA to get things wrong. Who would have thought that? Travis Scott appears to have gotten around Schaefer at turn 14. Schaefer has either gone off or something. 15 to 22 is the window for medium to hard. So yeah, about clean halfway through. Could we see even some of these guys on the hards try to stretch it as much as they can and go to the softs, or maybe even the mediums for that matter? Or will the weather come in if it does by that point anyway, and we won't have to worry about it? That's kind of what happens sometimes. We do see the rain trickle in at the back end of the session, and I think if it does happen here, that's what's going to happen. Nikki's gotten around Noganator, but on the throttle they go exiting turn 5. It does appear Noganator's going to be right up against the back of the Aston here. He's going to check to the inside. Not quite. Gunner's actually going to make that move happen. He's wheel-to-wheel with the Haas in question through turn 7 as the Haas has gone round. He's had a bit of a slide there. He's not hit anything, but under braking, that car went pretty much full tilt and now finds himself back to 12th. As they make their way through the Singapore Sling, Reimer is now 2 seconds behind Callie Robb. Callie Robb, mind you, is not even really gaining on race day. He's actually just putting time behind a Reimer. He's really staying stagnant where it comes to the chase of the Mercedes ahead, as Reimer's going to be under a lot of pressure of Race Chase here. Unfortunately for Race Chase and the commentary's curse, nothing is going to happen that time into turn 14. But a good little train of cars here, headlined by Reimer having to defend from Race Chase. Behind him, sees Fire Up Flow. Behind him, the other Sauber of Shariah. Behind him, the other Williams of Gotney Weeb, and then Houdini rounds out this little grouping in 8th. Behind him, 5 seconds, is Nikki 64. Swee's going to get round Gunner going in towards turn 16, and will now find himself up to the 10th spot, plus 2 so far through this one. Down the pit straight they went. Nothing changed here. Going through turn 3 now, I think Race Chase is going to have a very good opportunity to be able to get at Reimer as they make their way towards turn 7 with the DRS here. He's going to start the DRS section only 0.4 of a second behind the Red Bull in question. The Red Bull, a driver which is not usually known for having very quick cars in the straight line. I think that might be hurting him now. In previous games, it's absolutely true. This circuit would have really been a lot more similar of a Monaco-type setup, where you're putting on as much downforce as you possibly can. Sure, there was still 2 DRS sections, but still, not a track where you're going to use a lot of straight line speed, and I think maybe now we're seeing some of the guys kind of start to realize that a little bit more. This track reminds me a lot of Baku in that sense. There is a couple of high downforce sections, you're absolutely right, but for the majority, it's a very quick circuit in the straight line, and now that is kind of more or less the direction the track has gone. So down the straight now, heading towards turn 14. Reimer, again, does not appear to be pressured by Race Chase. Heading into the corner, nor does Fire Up Flow pressure the Sauber, nor does the Williams of Gotney pressure the other Sauber, nor does Houdini pressure the Williams. Not necessarily procession-type pace here. Lots of cars within DRS range of each other. It just seems as if they're being slightly tentative for the time being. Once again, the third race of the season, of the 6 scheduled, that will not feature racing line available in any capacity. I believe this was the first track that we tried that on last season. I think it was our first experiment with it, in which Cake Thomas, I believe, was the victor, taking his first Division 1 win in God knows how long. Cake Thomas not on the grid tonight, naturally. Down the straight, heading towards turn 7. Let's see if Reimer is pressured this time. Race Chase is just not going to get there. Fire Up Flow has a slight look to Race Chase. He's definitely at least knocking on the door. Shariah Coleslaw also in position as well, ready to make a move if any of the 3 cars ahead of him makes somewhat of a mistake. Meanwhile, Race Day has now put 4 seconds, 4.2. Oh no, Sui has gone around. That's off at turn 8, and we've got a full safety car on track as Schaefer's going to slide into a different part of the circuit for almost no apparent reason. That's off at turn 8. Sui has hammered the outside barrier there at the right-hander, and that's going to bring out the safety car. Well, thankfully, I say thankfully, unfortunately for Sui, that's going to be the end of his day. Thankfully for everyone else, including the viewers and myself, this is going to get our grid bunched up here, and we're going to get ourselves a little bit of strategy, potentially. Let's see what happens. Do we see some people choose tire strategy? Yes, we will. Race Day will pit here, entering the 6th lap of the Grand Prix on the mediums in which he started, and he will be pitting for a different compound, and it does appear to be the hard tires. Now, if there was any weather on the way, if you ask me, that probably meant we were going to see drivers stay out, but it doesn't appear to be the case. All these guys are coming in, putting on the hard tires. That pretty much, if my time understanding these races and how these games function, if it's delivered my wisdom in any way, shape, or form, it's telling me right now we are not going to see rain through to the end of this Grand Prix, which is unfortunate. Very much. Well, at the same time, it's a bit of a two-sided coin, isn't it? Because on one hand, you absolutely love seeing the rain and all the mischief and debacles that it brings. But on the other side of the coin, it really does show us some good racing in the dry. So yeah, a little bit of a difficult thing there. The top 5 have decided to stay out on track. That includes Reimer on the hards, Gotney Weeb, Gunner, and Noganator all on the mediums, and Nikki64 also on the hards. So a little bit interesting there that we've got that much discrepancy in strategy. The majority of the grid, however, have decided to make the pit stop here. Which is it is quite interesting, this. It has to be said. I'm not really sure why one half of the grid has said, hey, let's decide to pit, and the other half says, no, I think we're all set. Of course, 3 of those guys, if you include Travis Scott, are also on the hard tire, but still, that's a little interesting. Anyway, safety car on track. I'm gonna step aside and let it get sorted out here, but when we get back, Reimer will be in the lead of this Grand Prix, followed by Gotney Weeb, Nikki64, Gunner, and Noganator, the top 5. So the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. Interestingly enough, Schaefer has decided to retire in the pit lane. I believe someone else has stopped somewhere along the line there. Edwin has actually made 3 stops this Grand Prix. Slightly odd. Anyway, we will get back underway. Reimer will lead the brigade here, followed by Gottney Weeb, who's +6 on the day. Of course, none of these guys in the top 5 have stopped. The previous race leader of race day finds himself P6 at the moment, followed by in behind Noganator, Gunner, Nicky, Gottney Weeb, and Reimer. Now, can we find ourselves a little bit of closer racing here, as we've got ourselves a properly jumbled up grid? Reimer will get us back going, not necessarily early, but at a good point. He has actually caught, I think, Gottney Weeb a little bit sleeping there, as well as maybe Nicky 64, and definitely Gunner, who was actually 8/10 behind Nicky. Down the pit straight they go into the first couple of corners. Reimer will not be challenged in through there. Of course, I think they're going to have to wait until next time by. Oh, Callie Robb nearly went forward on Travis Scott. He kind of backed himself out of it at the last moment into that first corner. Really wanted it to the inside. That was nearly catastrophic. Race day now to the inside of Noganator, going through 5. Big slide getting on the throttle. He's not going to be able to make it happen. That was almost catastrophic for race day and the Noganator there. As now Gunner. Well, this is interesting now, because we look at it like this. Gunner, at the top end of this kind of 3-car pack here, heading into turn 8, is 1.2 seconds behind the rest of the top 3, where race day absolutely belongs, as Travis Scott is going to get around Callie Robb to the inside there through 8. This is really backing race day down the road. This is very unhelpful for him. He's going to have to get around Noganator and Gunner as quick as he can. Noganator's going to push way wide in through the corner. That car, I believe, hit the barriers on the outside there, going through the Singapore sling. As they make their way across the bridge and into the hairpin, race day will now find himself up to 5th, but goodness me, that Haas was all sorts of out of shape there. And it appears now that Reimer's showing some very good pace, but most importantly at the moment, Travis Scott to the inside of Race Chase will get up to the 8th spot. Reimer showing some fantastic pace. Since the off of the safety car has put a second behind to Gottney Weeb for the time being, who's put about a second back to Nicky, who's put about a second back to Gunner. Gunner, however, will be under pressure from race day, with now DRS being enabled. So now the question has to be, how quickly will race day find his way forward? Edwin is going to pick up 3 seconds for multiple warnings, I'm afraid. Making their way now towards turn 4 and turn 5. DRS will be activated here for race day. Will not be activated for Noganator behind. He will be under pressure from Callie Robb heading in towards turn 7. Race day will attempt the inside, and it looks as if he's going to make that one happen. Yes, he will into the braking zone. So will Callie Robb on the Noganator. And yeah, a couple of overtakes there. Nicely done. Shariah, I think, is going to have to try to make a move on Fire Up Flow here into turn 8. Maybe if he stuck with it, he probably could have had that happen. As it turns out, he's not gone for it. Making their way towards the bridge now. Reimer does lead Gottney Weeb by over a second. We do have the Aston of Edwin, who's gone around. Again, I'm afraid it's been the horrible, not very good, very bad day. I don't know what the words are exactly to it, but it's not gone well for him at all. Race day has gotten around Nicky at the hairpin. I'm assuming potentially maybe a mistake there from the Aston, or race day has just properly sent it. Either way, he's up to 3rd. Kind of an odd place to make a move into the corner. Like that. You really don't see people dive across the bridge unless it's out of desperation on like a final lap or something. It does happen. I'm not going to say it doesn't, but it does. It's very rare, isn't it? So out of turns 18 to 19 and down the pit straight they go. Race Chase about 0.2 of a second behind Noganator. Oh, he's going to absolutely have it into turn 1 here. To the inside goes the Sauber. A little bit of contact there with the Noganator. The Haas is going to have to go wide off the circuit as Race Chase will go through the corner as normal. Noganator's going to hit him again. Race Chase is going to give up 3 spots there to Fire Up Flow. Race Chase is not meant to give that spot up to Fire Up Flow. He wanted to give the spot back to Noganator. He probably felt as if he forced him off track. Good sportsmanship from Race Chase. He's in turn lost 3 spots when he really only wanted to purposefully lose 1. As now Noganator wheel to wheel with Fire Up Flow as they make their way into turn 8. Shariah Coleslaw watches in behind, hoping for a mistake from the 2 ahead of him, as it looks like that one's going to sort itself out by the time they get to turn 9, and then down this little straight towards turn 10. Meanwhile, the top 3, increasingly in close quarters. Now, Nicky 64, I don't know if you just saw that. That was kind of at the top of your picture. Nearly lost the car going over the bridge. That car, he really had to fight it. He has held on only just. Travis Scott has now got a 3-second time penalty of his own for multiple warnings. So Raystay has 0.3 of a second to the back end of Gottney Weeb. 2.5 up the road from him is the Red Bull of Reimer, his former teammate from, I believe, was the last season, 2 seasons ago. Either way, former teammates could be battling here shortly for the top spot, as Raystay's going to have a great exit out of 18 and 19 into the inside of Gottney Weeb. He's going to get that second spot back, and now we'll look at this as well, within DRS range on Reimer. He is sending it around the circuit now. Oh, is he going to get it? I think he's going to miss DRS only just. I think it was 18/1000ths of a second at the detection line there. Oh, that was definitely close. That rear wing. Eventually front wing. In 2026 will be the front wing. Excuse my train of rambling thoughts there, as Gunnar has gone around exiting turn 5. Well, the rear wing did not open for Raystay. I was going to say front wing. That's not true. 2026 it'll be true. Either way, he hasn't needed the DRS. He's gotten very close to Reimer here just in these couple of corners. As now we enter the back half of Sector 2. And Reimer's only got a 0.2 of a second advantage over his former teammate at Raystay as they make their way through turn 12 and over the bridge heading into turn 13. Very close here. Raystay's going to try the outside. He'll cut back to the inside. Reimer a bit of a slide, getting on the throttle there. Wheel to wheel. Raystay with DRS. And just like that, we questioned how long it was going to take Raystay to get back up to the point after the safety car. Well, it's not quite yet. I think he's going to have it now as they go into turn 16. They'll try the outside. Reimer defending the inside into the corner. Raystay will choose not to try to outbrake the Red Bull through that section of the track. He'd much rather wait safely for exiting turn 5 and absolutely having it then. Or potentially even down the pit straight. Reimer playing it smart here. Will defend the inside line as they make their way into the first 3 corners. Raystay round the outside. Will he be able to have it very cleanly between them? Reimer's given him plenty of space enough at least for Raystay to stay on the circuit, and Reimer has held the spot for now. Through now turn 5, Noganator picking up 3 seconds of penalty for multiple warnings, going off, I believe, at turn 2. DRS activated for the Mercedes in question. Around the outside he goes, looking for turn 7, and he's going to have it plenty of time. Raystay back up to the lead. Nicky 64. Well, Gottney Weeb's going to lose 2 spots there. Nicky's going to lose them both back, actually. Unless, still wheel to wheel with the Williams. Nicky has gone for the outbraking maneuver on the inside of the Williams through 7. He's gone wide and has lost the spot to both Cali Robb and Gottney Weeb again through that corner. Gottney Weeb's going to drift quite wide there, going through turn 10 and 11. Nicky's in quite the position here. I think he could probably find a way to get back at Gottney Weeb here in the coming laps. 2.5 seconds down the road from them is Fire Up Flow, potentially trying to defend from Shariah Coleslaw. 6.5 of a second behind. We've got Houdini, half a second behind Noganator. That for the 9th spot. We'll have a quick look at the penalty tracker at the moment. 3 cars on 3-second penalties, that being Noganator, Travis Scott, and Edwin. So as they make their way through turns 18 and 19 now, Raystay already. Oh, Raystay's gone off the circuit there. Yes, he has. I think Raystay has made a huge error into that first corner. I was going to say he was 2 seconds ahead of Reimer as they make their way into turn 1 and 2. That car went way off circuit. He seems to have got it back under control now, but I think for Reimer, maybe can he hope for more mistakes to pile on for Raystay? You know, that's the difference between a good driver and a great driver. A great driver may make a mistake, but he won't let them snowball into others. Raystay, for the time being, seems to fit that definition there. Travis Scott, unfortunately, will not. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, his second of the day. No offense to Travis, he's racing quicker than I would have had, but that's appears to be the case at the moment. Nicky 64 as they go over the bridge, 0.4 of a second behind the Williams in question as they make their way into the hairpin at turn 13. Nicky's going to hang to the inside there, not really close enough and not really getting a good enough acceleration to challenge the Williams into 14, although maybe will he have it going towards 16 of this big long straight here. Big wiggle for Nicky getting on the throttle, and well, I think that's going to eliminate the chance this time by. He'll probably have to wait for turn 5. So in the time that I finished the sentence talking about good drivers and great drivers, Raystay has made the mistake, then put an additional 0.7 of a second back to Reimer. I say additional 7/10, I mean he went down to 1.5 seconds, the gap being, got back up to 2 seconds where it was, and now is about to put an additional second on him. Yeah, Race Day's doing pretty damn good right about now, if I say so myself. So we do have Travis Scott and Noganator side by side going through the first couple of corners. The Haas is going to get the better of that one, it seems. Exiting turn 5 they go. Nicky 64, 10.5 or less. He'll try the outside of Gottney Weeb, and it looks as if he's going to have that one. Yes, he will. Shariah Coleslaw will also make the move on the other Williams with fire up flow. Both Willies losing position there. Hate when that happens. Anyways, making their way through turn 8. Shariah now, I think, may have clean air enough to rejoin this battle for the 4th spot, as Gottney Weeb does not appear to be challenging Nicky again for that 4th spot, at least for the time being. Have a quick look at the tire tracker. Gottney Weeb is on 13-lap-old medium tires, whereas those others involved in this battle include Nicky on the 13-lap-old hards. Shariah and Fire Up Flow also on hard tires, 8 laps old for them. What I will say is this, Cali Robb does appear to be closing in on Reimer quite quickly here. 0.3 seconds the gap. We are still waiting for 6 drivers on grid who have yet to stop, 3 of which in the top 5. I'm assuming that's going to be any lap now, as we are probably about at that halfway mark. As Gottney Weeb, yep, there he goes, into the pit lane. What will it be for him? I'm assuming the hard tires. Anything else, and that is a very interesting turn of events, and it will be the hards. As expected, and really in looking at that, that has eliminated any possibility of weather today. Cali Robb around the outside, looking for it in turn 7, and he's going to have the position even before they get to the braking zone, although he has gone wide, exiting the corner. Reimer will get that spot back by the time they get to turn 8. The more things change, the more they stay the same, as Reimer up to 2nd again after Cali Robb's mistake. Also featured for the time being, Nicky 64 has Shariah about 0.5 seconds behind him. Fire Up Flow also trying to peek his head into this battle as well. Making their way over the bridge now, in towards turn 13. Fire Up Flow looks to be slightly struggling with that car at the moment, as someone has gone off there at turn 8, and it is that of Gottney Weeb. Weeb, unfortunately, has gone off at the braking zone. That car is missing front wing on the right side. I saw the ticker at the bottom. It was Swee leaving the session, which kind of thought we were going to have a safety car there, but, well, technically we did for Swee, just not now. About 9 laps ago. Down the pit straight. Does appear that Cali Robb is about, I would say, a couple hundred meters away from being able to overtake Reimer and get to the 2nd spot. But meanwhile, 5.5 seconds up the road, Race Day is walking away with this one. What I will say for Race Day is that it's a difficult situation. Race Day should not be taking any risks right now, more than he should, because there's absolutely possibility for another safety car to happen, as Cali Robb is going to try to outbrake the Red Bull to the inside. Oh, they're going to make contact, and he's going to push the Red Bull off the circuit. Cali Robb has gone too deep in braking, has gone into the side of the Red Bull, and has pushed him clean off the track. I think Cali's got to give that spot back. Reimer, hopefully, has not suffered any damage from that exchange. Cali Robb, at least for the time being, has not decided to give the spot back. Meanwhile, in through that, these two have lost an additional second back to Race Day. And it has to be said, for the time being, it does not appear that Cali Robb is going to be giving Reimer that spot back. That will almost certainly end up in a steward report, it has to be said. Cali Robb, of course, he's not done anything on purpose. Cali Robb is not that sort of person, and Reimer is not the sort of person to have people get mad at him for that. But that was absolutely a bit of a late break job there, and Cali Robb had not necessarily missed the corner, but as you could tell, had kind of gone very deep into the braking zone, and that's why that happened. Reimer will make his way into the pit lane. The one of the only couple of cars who did start on the hard tires, that other being Nicky, who has stayed out an additional lap. Reimer now to the medium tires, and potentially Reimer hoping that he could put some good laps together here and make some good time and get some points, even potentially fastest lap. It's in the cards, potentially. We've got a couple of cars here within close quarters of each other. Shariah, now having been promoted to third, has the Williams of Fire Up Flow behind him, albeit with DRS, but behind by 1.3 seconds. Nicky 64 behind the Williams by a second himself. Race Chase actually quite close to having a look at Nicky here. We'll have to wait and see if he tries that into 14 or to 16, because it's not going to be now. Fire Up Flow leads this little procession here. These three cars, the closest three cars to each other on track, by 0.6 of a second over Nicky. So as we're on the 18th lap of the Grand Prix now, seems things are starting to spread out a little bit. Although Gunner into the pit lane. Reimer will have the 8th spot, albeit behind now even his teammate at 12.5 seconds. 0.6 of a second from Nicky 64 is Race Chase, although it doesn't appear as if these guys are going to make moves happen at this point. Coming up closer to 10 laps to go here. And it has to be said, I'm thinking the only way that race day could potentially be stopped is by another safety car. As Gunner makes his way into the pit lane, he'll fall to 11th. Race Chase, though, half a second behind Nicky, in towards turn 13. Down the straight, heading up to 14 with DRS. Race Chase is behind Nicky, 0.6 of a second. Who is that ahead of Nicky? Is that the Williams? Yes, it is. Only 0.7 of a second up the road. Nicky is starting to kind of get himself back into the picture of battling for 4th. These past couple of laps have just not necessarily been riding around in circles, but he's not been challenged. And of course, remember, Nicky does still need to stop as well. He started on those hard tires, I believe, unless he did stop after the first lap, which I don't believe that he had. Nope. So Nicky in 5th place. As Fire Up Flow potentially in his sight as we have a yellow flag. It's the Aston Martin of Edwin. He's off there at turn 14. It appears everything is still attached to that car as well as it possibly could. At turn 8, Fire Up Flow did go a little bit high there into the corner, but he has come out all right, and now Nicky 64, 7.5 of a second behind. Race Chase is actually within 0.3 of Nicky here for that 5th spot as they go through Singapore Sling. Across the bridge, in towards the hairpin at turn 13 they go. Nicky 64 looks like he could be overtaken by Race Chase here very shortly. Of course, once again, Nicky still needs to stop. We think at this point he's probably holding on for the softs as long as he can. Is that a viable strategy? I'm not too sure, especially considering at this point it really is going to be a safety car necessary to get these guys, some of these guys, back into position to battle for podiums. And unfortunately for Fire Up Flow, that job is going to be made even more difficult now as he has picked up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Down the pit straight they go again. Maybe we'll find an overtake this time. As Fire Up Flow leads Nicky 64 by half a second, who leads Race Chase by about 3.5. Through turn 4, through turn 5. Nicky 64 exits that corner very, very good. He's going to have that right side of Fire Up Flow. Race Chase watches on and doesn't really play a factor in that overtake whatsoever. Nicky 64 up to 4th. on merit, never mind the penalty to the Williams in question. Race Chase does appear, I will say, for Race Chase does appear to be conserving. Has an entirely full battery here, save for 8%. Nicky 64, he himself is about 100% here as we have a yellow flag off at the hairpin. Callie Robb, oh goodness me, what has happened with Callie Robb? That car, as he had a spin as he hit the wall, he's definitely hit something. He's missing the end plate on the right side of the front wing. Shariah Coleslaw up to second. With almost no explanation there, Callie Robb falls to third after a spin at the hairpin. Or a hit or something, I'm not rightly sure what he could have done there, and we didn't see this happen. He could have gone too close to the apex on the inside and actually clipped the wall. That does happen quite a lot, as Nicky 64 does have a bit of a slide, actually coming out of turn 17 there, and is going to lose positions to both Fire Up Flow and Race Chase. Slightly an odd spot of the track to get a bit loosey-goosey there, but it has happened. And Nicky 64 will fall back to 6th. Hey, for what it's worth, though, Callie Robb is now going to have to put the pace down and put the pedal down and get some pace to try to get Shariah Coleslaw back for the second spot here. As meanwhile, 16 seconds up the road in a league of his own, Race Day still leads. Race Chase does appear to have overtaken Fire Up Flow in towards turn 7 with the aid of DRS to the inside, it appears. Nicky 64, having recovered from his error, is now back within half a second of Fire Up Flow as they make their way towards turn 10. That tricky little left-hander. That barrier on the inside, that little orange block on the wall, you want to get as close as you possibly can to that. Just for notice, let's see if Houdini does it here. You can see you want to cut that as close as you can. That is the quickest way through that corner. Sometimes cars will push a little bit wider to cement a run, maybe through 11, and, you know, kind of take that little chicane blip in that circuit maybe a little bit quicker. It doesn't really work, does it? So we do have less than 10 laps remaining now in this Singapore Grand Prix, as Edwin's going to pick up an additional 3 seconds for multiple warnings. He's up to 6. Travis Scott up to 6 seconds as well. 3 cars battling for 4th as they begin their lap of the Grand Prix circuit. Fire Up Flow into turn 1 is not going to be able to pressure Race Chase here. Nicky 64 still about half a second behind. It appears the Red Bulls will swap positions here, and Reimer, well, you see, that's a little bit pointless, isn't it? Because he's still 8 seconds behind Nicky 64. Although what I will say, he's already shaved off about 1/10 of a second in the 3 seconds I've been talking, but that's okay. Yeah, that's a bit of a bold one there. I don't know why you'd really swap around the Red Bulls. Reimer is, again, unless a safety car happens, that car is firmly out of contention. I mean, unless the prayers of the 12 other cars are answered and Race Day makes an unbelievable mistake and ends up in a wall, or a safety car is caused by someone along the line. It does look as if the Mercedes of Race Day, just plain and simple, walking away with this one. Hey, coming up in the Midwest F1 League, our next couple of races go like this. We do head to the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi next time out, followed by the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands, and the final out of the next 3, the Suzuka International Racing Course, for what should be a fantastic Grand Prix. That always a pleasure visiting Japan. Front wing being changed here. Sorry for Callie Robb, as it appears he had wing damage on both the left side and the right side. He's going to make his way back out on the track. He's going to exit in 8th spot here. That will actually deliver a double podium for the Saubers. Unless, does Fire Up Flow or Nicky 64 have anything to say about that? Could be. Not too sure. What a season it has been for Race Day. Looking to become, yet again, champion of Division 1 here. And it would have absolutely deserved it as well. Looking to become a 3-time champion back-to-back as well. Season 13 and 14. Looking to become one of only 2 other 3-time champions in Midwest F1 Division 1 history. Of course, Ryan Rod's having won 3 out of 4. Oh, big slide there for Fire Up Flow. Looks like he's hit the wall somewhere along the line. Sticky 64 picking up a 3-second time penalty for fun. Ryan Rod's having those 4 great seasons. Season 5, 6, and 8, where he won the title. Scornsey in the middle at Season 7. Of course, Scornsey, 5-time champion in his own right. Race day looking to join that exclusive list of drivers with 3 or more championships. Only 2 others. Joining Midwest royalty here, it does have to be said, as Nicky 64 around the outside, heading towards turn 7, and he'll have that one. What I will say about this, Reimer have been giving him a bit of gaff here about why those 2 swap positions. To his credit, he is now within 3 seconds of those battling for that 3rd spot. Fire Up Flow, 3 seconds up the road. Of course, for the time being, he would gain the position only to Fire Up Flow, the 5th spot. Would not gain the 4th spot with Nicky's penalty. Although, Reimer is getting absolutely closer to the 2 cars ahead of him. 7 laps to go now. Race day has a 21.7 second lead. As into the pit lane goes Nicky 64, finally deciding to stop after he's taken the hard tires in which he started the Grand Prix on to the end of the race here, pretty much. Save for 7 laps. Onto the softs, I can assume. Kelly Robb's going to the softs as well, for what it's worth. Yep, soft tires on for Nicky. And exiting the pit lane, he will exit in the 7th position. Unless can Kelly Robb get around him as he makes his way out of the final couple of corners. Will the Aston be overtaken? Yes, he will. Kelly Robb also having the fastest lap of the session. So he'll look to bring home that bonus point. Reimer now, within half a second, about more than that, just around 3/4 of a second here, behind Fire Up Flow. Those 8-lap-old medium tires looking great. And oh, by the way, for what it's worth, Fire Up Flow is only about 1.5 seconds behind Race Chase. So Reimer gets around Fire Up Flow with ease, and we could have a battle for the final step of the podium. Oh, look at this! Reimer's going to go way to the inside there through 13. You really don't see guys make moves happen on the way into the corner like that. Reimer's absolutely gone forward and up to 4th. He has no time able to be wasted, and he's recognized that and is now up to 4th. Fantastic move there. And now has 2 seconds to get up to Race Chase, which is absolutely possible. Race Chase will not have DRS to anybody. Not anybody on the lead lap, nor any back markers ahead of him. It is all mano-a-mano here. 1.1 the gap. Next time by at the line will be 5 laps to go. With DRS now, the Red Bull. How has he gotten up to him that quickly? That's ridiculous. DRS activated for the Red Bull. Into the braking zone at turn 7. He's not going to be close enough to make it happen then, but maybe will he just have to require a little bit of guts, a little bit of determination, potentially even a little bit of stupidity. Stupidity works well if it's used in the right facet. And now look at this. Heading towards turn 10, Race Chase is going to back out of position. Reimer's going to go deep. Nearly did a bit of a George Russell there, but he's got the car under control. And Reimer up to 3rd. And what a result that would be for Reimer if he's able. Oh, look at this. This is an interesting choice here. Race Day is into the pit lane. Looking for those soft tires. going for that fastest lap point. He's absolutely going to be earning it as well. Shariah, of course, only rounding the final couple of corners now. Oh, gee, it's going to be close between them here, won't it? Hang on just a minute. Shariah is going to get round Race Day as Race Day exits the pit lane. Of course, Race Day is now on the soft tires, and, well, Shariah is going to have a slight taste of a lead here. I mean, this is a bit of a formality at this point. Race Day is absolutely going for that fastest lap, though. He's not needed to risk it. Callie Robb, with the 1:29.111, is the quickest time on track so far. Race Day is over a second behind that, but now on the softs. Was undoubtedly the quickest driver in qualifying. Just for what it's worth, Reimer's only 6.5 seconds down the road from him. Let's see what Race Day does. Will he kind of go gutsy here and make it happen on Shariah? DRS will obviously be activated for the the Mercedes. And in towards turn 14, he will have stopped, got the lead back, and will now probably be ahead of Shariah by a second by the time the lap has come to a close. Total atomic annihilation. As Callie Robb is going to get around Houdini, something has happened there. The Red Bull is sideways on the bridge. Going to fall down to the 8th spot. Well, he is missing a bit of front wing on the right side. Thankfully, it looks as if he'll be able to continue, and Noganator's about 18 seconds behind from him. As we've got another Ferrari gone round. Callie Robb's gone round again. Missing a little bit of front wing there. A lot of it, actually. End plates on both sides, as it's not really gone well for Callie Robb today, has to be said. There was times where, he was battling for the podium realistically. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that's going to be the case, and I don't think he's going to hold on to that fastest lap much longer either. Positions gained and lost. Shariah is going to be +4 today. Fantastic result for him. Reimer's going to lose the 1 spot, but in fairness to him, he's had quite the obstacles to overcome. Back up to 3rd, and a podium is a pretty good result for him, has to be said. He will have expected more. He will have hoped for more. But Reimer, the consummate professional that he is, he'll be all right with this. A couple of drivers with penalties there. Fire Up Flow will not be losing that spot to Nicky. He'll keep 5th. Good result for him. Staying exactly where he started. Everybody else, save for Callie Robb and Gottney Weeb, is up at least 1 spot. Travis Scott is up 4. I think driver of the day is going to belong to Shariah at this point. Of course, still a couple of laps to go. You never know. One of those things. Edwin's going to pick up an additional 3-second time penalty there. Race Day now with 3 laps to go in this Singapore Grand Prix. By the way, for what it's worth, Race Day pit 2 laps ago and has put 7 seconds behind the Shariah Coleslaw. Total atomic annihilation for our Fallout fans. That will be ringing in your head at the same time, right up there with a Race Day victory. Meanwhile, it appears Houdini's actually gone wide there, exiting that final corner. He's almost on a bit of a Lance Stroll then. Sort of a bit of a Lance Stroll. Can't decide what accent to put on today, as it turns out. But Houdini, he's missing a lot of the front wing now. Yikes. Oh, it's going to be I tell you what, I feel bad for Houdini because he's climbed a couple of spots here genuinely, but he's also missing a lot of front wing. He's going to end this one in the negative, it looks. Nah, he might not. Travis Scott has got 9 seconds of penalty. I think he may even gain 1 over Noganator. It's possible. At the line this time will be 2 laps to go. Travis Scott up to 12 seconds in penalty now. That is assured. Houdini will at least finish net 0, which I guess is fine. Never a bad day when you finish where you started, unless it's P20. Travis Scott appears to have, yes, gotten around Houdini. Houdini again. This seems to have made another error. He's been overtaken by both Travis and Gunner. And so now that'll put him net -1, I'm afraid. As they make their way exiting turn 5. Mind you, this battle, unfortunately for the time being, is not for position, as Fire Up Flow is on 3 seconds of penalty, and Race Chase is not. Unless maybe does Race Chase pick up a penalty here in this lap, this last, lap and a half, 2 laps of the race. It's possible. Fire Up Flow, well, unfortunately the only thing possible now is that Race Chase is going to escape with P4 no matter what, unless he does it on his own. Noganator looks to have gone wide out of 7. Is not missing any front wing. Fire Up Flow is missing the end plate on the left side. That will be hurting not only his downforce, but his braking ability as well, as we are beginning the final lap of the Grand Prix. Houdini enters and exits the pit lane now on what I believe are soft tires. Surely, yep. Race Day 2016 has had this one all to himself all day long. Of course, there was a bit of a strategy play with the safety car in there where he had to work his way back up from, I don't know, what was it, 7th or 8th. Gets himself back to the top in almost no time. Pretty much record time, genuinely. This guy is on fire. One of the quickest drivers you will ever see here in Midwest F1. For his 4th win of the season. It's quite surprising because you look at the championship table, it does not look close in any of the categories. But we do have, what, 4 winners this season. Race Day's won 3 times. Reimer's won twice. Callie Robb has won once, and we also have Palmer in there as well. So for his 4th win of the season, Race Day, making his way, of course, remember he had what I believe was quite bad luck last time out in Hungary. But it's all been good luck today, and well, I tell you what, skill has beaten luck. He has absolutely done it. He has cooked, and he has won the Singapore Grand Prix in just unbelievably dominant fashion. That will have to go down as probably one of the drives of his career, you'd have to think. Shariah Coleslaw, in other news, will also finish 2nd in what you'd have to think is one of the drives of his career. Reimer 3rd. That's where he'd hope to be. He's, of course, lost the 1 spot, but still finishes on the podium. He put in a hell of a final stint there on those medium tires. Race Chase will go 4th. Fire Up Flow appears to go 5th. Nikki 6th. 7th will be Noganator. 8th appears to be Callie Robb. No, Callie Robb's going to get 7th here with the lack thereof of penalty compared to Noganator. Gunner's going to get 9th. Travis Scott's going to get 10th. Hey, anyways, guys, very happy to have joined you once again here. Be sure to join us next time out when we head to the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands for another edition of the Midwest F1 League here in Division 1. Hotspot, it has been a pleasure joining you, and we'll see you next time.